She thought it was funny to prank me at my birthday party, handing me a box with She thought it was funny to prank me at my birthday party, handing me a box with divorce papers inside. Everyone burst out laughing. I just blew out my candle. 2 days later, she got an envelope from my lawyer. A man's 40th birthday is supposed to be a milestone, a time for reflection, a celebration of how far you've come. My 40th, last Saturday, was definitely a milestone. It was the day I realized my wife of 10 years didn't just not respect me. She actively despised me. And it was the day I decided to return the favor. Let me give you the lay of the land. My name is David, and I own a commercial real estate business. It's a high-stress, high-reward field, and I've done well. My wife, Emily, is a former art gallery curator who now, in her words, curates our life. In reality, that means she spends her days at yoga, having long lunches with her equally unemployed friends, and spending my money. For a long time, I didn't care. I loved her. I was proud that I could provide a life where she didn't have to work. But over the last few years, something had changed. The gratitude had been replaced by a deep, corrosive entitlement. My role in her life had shifted from partner to provider, from husband to a walking, talking ATM. The jokes at my expense, always in front of her friends, had become more frequent and more cruel. She'd mock my taste in movies, my boring hobbies like fishing, the way I dressed. I was the simple, unsophisticated man who made her lavish lifestyle possible, and she resented me for it. I wasn't an S. I pushed back. We had fights, huge knockdown, drag-out fights. Each one would end with her in tears, accusing me of being a bully, of not being able to take a joke. Then she'd give me the silent treatment for a week, and I, like an idiot, would eventually give in just to have some peace in my own home. I knew we were in trouble. I had even suggested marriage counseling. She laughed in my face. "We don't need to shrink, David," she'd said. "We just need you to lighten up." So, for my 40th birthday, she decided to lighten me up. She threw me a big party at our house. My house, a key detail. All our friends were there. It was a great night on the surface. Good food, good music. Everyone was having a good time. Then came the cake and the presents. I sat at the head of our dining table. A big, ridiculous cake with 40 candles burning in front of me. Everyone gathered around singing. I was genuinely happy. For a moment, I thought maybe we were going to be okay. Then Emily came out of the kitchen carrying a single, beautifully wrapped gift box. "I have one more present for you, honey," she said, her voice full of fake sweetness. "This one is from me." She placed the box in front of me. It was heavy. I looked at her, and she had this weird, excited glint in her eye that I had learned to recognize as a precursor to some kind of drama. Her friends, a trio of mean girls I've always despised, were all standing behind her, phones out, recording. I opened the box. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, was a thick leather-bound folder. I opened it. The first page was a professionally printed cover sheet. It read, "The Law Offices of Sterling and Finch," and below that, in big, bold letters, "Petition for Dissolution of Marriage." It was a full legally formatted set of divorce papers. My name, her name, all our details. She'd gone to a lawyer. She had these drawn up as a prank. I just stared at it. The room had gone quiet. Then I heard a snicker. It was one of her friends, then another. And then the whole room, her whole side of the room, burst out laughing. It was a loud, cruel, echoing sound. They thought it was the most hilarious thing they had ever seen. I looked up at Emily. She was beaming, a triumphant smile on her face, like she had just delivered the punchline of the century. She was looking at her friends, soaking in their approval. I didn't say a word. I just looked at the papers. I looked at her laughing at my expense. I looked at the 40 candles on my birthday cake, and then I took a deep breath, leaned forward, and blew them all out. I made a wish, a very specific wish. Then I stood up. I smiled, a real genuine smile. "Great joke, honey," I said, my voice perfectly calm. "You really got me. Now, if you'll all excuse me, I'm going to go get us some more champagne." I walked out of the room and I didn't look back. The party was over. My marriage was over. And my wife had just handed me the greatest birthday present of all. The perfect ironclad reason to burn her entire world to the ground. Update 1. The rest of the party was a masterclass in acting on my part. I came back with the champagne. I laughed and joked. I played the part of the good sport, the husband who could take a joke no matter how cruel. Emily and her friends were triumphant. They had proven once again that I was the boring, predictable guy who would just take whatever they dished out. They had no idea they were celebrating their own execution. As soon as the last guest left, around 2:00 a.m., I went to my office. I still had the box with the divorce papers. I took them out and looked at them. They were real. She had actually paid a lawyer to draft them. The level of premeditation was astounding. I didn't sleep. I just sat at my desk and started making a list. My revenge couldn't be emotional. It had to be cold, logical, and financially devastating. She had made a joke about our marriage. I was going to make her life a punchline. On Monday morning, I set my plan in motion. The first call was to my lawyer. Not just any lawyer, but the most ruthless divorce attorney in the city, a woman named Diana, who was known for taking no prisoners. I told her the story. I emailed her the pictures and videos her friends had so thoughtfully taken of the prank. She was silent for a moment when I was done. Then she just said, "Oh, we're going to have fun with this." The second call was to a private investigator. I gave him one target, Emily's best friend, a woman named Chloe, who was the ringleader of her little coven. I had a suspicion that Chloe's own life wasn't as perfect as she pretended it was. I told the PI to dig. The third call was to my bank. I had a number of joint accounts and credit cards with Emily. Over the next hour, I systematically drained my half of the funds and I canceled every single card that had her name on it. Her financial lifeline, which was, of course, me, was severed. My final act of the morning was the most satisfying. Emily had a horse, a ridiculously expensive show horse that was her pride and joy. It was her status symbol, the one thing she loved more than anything. The horse was stabled at an exclusive equestrian club. The monthly fees for its upkeep were astronomical. And, of course, they were all paid for by me on a credit card I had just canceled. I drove out to the stable. I found the owner, a woman I'd met a few times. I told her the situation. My wife and I were separating. I would no longer be paying for the horse's expenses. I told her that, as per our agreement, she would need to contact the legal owner of the horse, Emily, to arrange for future payments or the horse's removal. The woman was sympathetic, but business was business. She said she would be in touch with Emily that day. I went home and waited. The first sign that the shockwave had hit was a frantic text from Emily around noon. My card was just declined at Neiman Marcus. "What's going on?" I didn't reply. An hour later, another text. The stable just called me. They said, "You're not paying for Star anymore. Is this a joke?" "Because it's not funny, David." I still didn't reply. I just sat in my office looking at the box of divorce papers she had given me. She got home around 4 and she stormed into the house, her face a mask of rage. "David, what the hell have you done?" I just looked up from my computer. "I'm just following your lead, honey," I said calmly. "You wanted a divorce. I'm just getting the ball rolling. I thought you'd be pleased." "That was a prank," she shrieked. "A joke? You know I didn't mean it." "Didn't you?" I asked. I stood up and walked over to her. "You went to a lawyer, Emily. You had official documents drafted. You and your friends planned it. You filmed it. That's not a joke. That's a dress rehearsal. And you know what? It convinced me. You were right all along. We should get a divorce." "You can't do this," she cried. "I can," I said, "and I am. My lawyer will be sending your lawyer, the one you so thoughtfully provided the name of, an official response to your petition tomorrow. I suggest you find a way to pay for him because I won't be. And I suggest you find a way to pay for your horse and your car and your lunches because the Bank of David is officially closed." I turned and walked back to my office and closed the door. I could hear her screaming and throwing things in the living room. It was the sound of a woman who had just realized that the joke was and always had been on her. Update 2. The days that followed were a blur of legal maneuvering and escalating desperation on her part. My lawyer, Diana, was a shark. She filed a counter-petition for divorce on the grounds of extreme cruelty. Her primary piece of evidence, the videos of my birthday party, which Emily's own friends had so conveniently filmed. The judge, Diana told me, was not amused by the prank. Emily's life began to unravel with breathtaking speed. With her credit cards canceled and her bank account empty, she was suddenly broke. The equestrian club gave her a 1-week deadline to either pay the thousands of dollars she owed in back fees, or they would be forced to sell her horse to cover the debt. Her car, which was leased in my name, was repossessed from the driveway of her parents' house where she had been forced to move back in. Her friends, the ones who had laughed so hard at my humiliation, were suddenly nowhere to be found. It's funny how quickly people disappear when the person who pays for the champagne brunch is no longer paying. Then came the report from the private investigator, and it was better than I could have ever imagined. Chloe, the maid of honor and ringleader, was having an affair with the husband of another woman in their friend group. The PI got photos. He got hotel receipts. He got everything. I didn't do anything with the information at first. I just held it. It was my ace in the hole. The final confrontation came about a month after the party. We had a mandatory settlement conference with our lawyers. Emily and I sitting on opposite sides of a long, polished table. She had spent the last month trying to launch a smear campaign against me, telling everyone I was an abusive, controlling monster with no sense of humor. Her lawyer started by making a series of outrageous demands. She wanted the house. She wanted half of my business. She wanted lifelong alimony. When he was done, Diana just smiled. "That's a very impressive work of fiction," she said. She then laid out our position. Emily would be getting nothing. Not the house, not a penny for my business. In fact, we would be demanding that she reimburse me for her half of our shared debts, which without my income to pay them off, were substantial. Her lawyer just laughed. "On what grounds?" "On the grounds that your client entered into this marriage under fraudulent pretenses," Diana said, her voice like ice. "And on the grounds of her well-documented history of cruelty and infidelity." "Infidelity?" Emily's lawyer said, looking confused. "There are no allegations of infidelity in your petition. Not on my client's part." "No," Diana said, "but we do have some interesting information about your client's social circle." And then I made my move. I looked directly at Emily. "I know about Chloe and Steve," I said quietly. The color drained from her face. Chloe was her best friend, her alibi for 100 different shopping trips and mysterious late nights. Steve was the husband of her other best friend, Amanda. "If this goes to court," I continued, "your friends will be subpoenaed. They will have to testify under oath about what they knew, about the affair, about the prank, about everything." "Is that really a can of worms you want to open, Emily? Are you willing to burn down your entire life and the lives of your friends just to try and get a piece of mine?" She just stared at me, her mouth open. She looked at her lawyer, who was looking at her with a new, dawning horror. Or I said, leaning forward, "You can sign the papers. You can walk away with what you came into this marriage with. Nothing, and we can both move on. The choice is yours." Final update. It has been 6 months. The divorce was finalized 2 weeks after that meeting. She signed the papers. She took the deal. She had no choice. The threat of mutual assured destruction was the one language she understood. Her life, from what I hear, is a complete and utter disaster. The story of Chloe's affair, as I knew it would, came out. The friend group imploded in a spectacular fashion. Amanda, the wronged wife, filed for divorce and took her husband for everything he had. Chloe is now a social pariah, and Emily, with her 2 best friends no longer speaking to her, is completely alone. She had to sell her horse. The equestrian club put it up for auction, and I heard it went for a fraction of what I had paid for it. She is still living with her parents, working some low-level job that she hates. The life of curated perfection she had built for herself was a house of cards, and all it took was one little push to bring it all crashing down. I saw her once a few weeks ago. I was at a restaurant, one of mine, doing a spot check on the kitchen. She was there on a date with some guy who looked as slick and phony as she was. She saw me. The look on her face was a mixture of fear and pure, uncut hatred. She and her date left a few minutes later. The ultimate revenge wasn't about the money or the house or the horse. It was about taking away her power. Her power was in her social standing, her friendships, her ability to manipulate people. All I did was hold up a mirror and show her and everyone else who she really was. A cruel, entitled bully who thought her husband's love and respect were a joke. She wanted to hand me divorce papers as a prank. In the end, I was the one who handed them to her for real. She thought she was the one who could walk away at any time, but I was the one who walked away first. She thought she was in control, but in the end, the only thing she controlled was her own spectacular downfall. My life is quiet now. It's peaceful and it's mine. All mine.